Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit has no juice in a 3-1 loss to the LA Kings, but Patrick Kane ties Mike Modano for most points all time for U.S.-born skaters.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. And now, if you go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer, you can listen to our podcasts ad-free by subscribing, as well as get access to an exclusive Discord server in which you can talk to Scotty and I. Again, that is lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. Scotty, the Red Wings fall 3-1 to the LA Kings in what was, best I can describe, a juiceless, as the kids would say, loss. Just absolutely nothing going for them all game.
Yeah, just like you with that comment, nothing going for them. It's honestly like that was it was a weird game to analyze, I think. I don't think it was like the most lifeless performance of the year or anything like that. And they obviously had some opportunities there late in the third. Now, like you have an extra skater, you pull the goalie, like that's the whole point. But I don't know. I mean, golly, man! Almost at the end of the first period, they barely had 10 shots. It's hard, but in the same breath, I felt like the few opportunities they did have, especially in the second and third, like there were a handful of high danger opportunities. That this is just like how the Kings like kind of operate. Like there isn't any overpowering offense. There isn't any, anybody really, period, to lean on in terms of goal scoring. I mean, Corey Perry got an empty netter. He's been one of their best point producers on the season, as we talked about yesterday. This was just a game in which they suffocated, and in the opportunities that the Wings did have, they got really good goaltending, and that's kind of been how they've dragged themselves to still being in the top four in their division, like up to this point, has just been playing kind of low event, as we used to call it, hockey, and trying to take advantage of the few opportunities they have, and then, not allowing really much of anything going the other way. And the Kings are just a team with how well they are at goal prevention. It's really hard to come back from, right? Like you can, if you have a lead on the Kings, you can hold on to a lead against the Kings. If you are battling from behind, it is difficult to scratch and claw back. And I think that is kind of more or less what we saw in this game. But I think they did have a handful of high danger chances. They just obviously didn't come through with them. And still gave themselves at least somewhat of a chance to, make it competitive at the end, I guess. But yeah, I think in general, this was certainly one of the, least eventful games of the year for the Wings, that's for sure.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it on yesterday's episode. Like, this is a LA Kings team that all the numbers suggested they were going to be a heavy puck possession team, and boy, were they.
No kidding.
And Osgood said it during the pregame. I think he projected like a 2-1 final or something like that. They're going to try and muck it up and win 2-1. They won 3-1 because of an empty netter.
Right.
They won every race to the puck. They were very physical, and that's something that was driving me nuts all game with the Red Wings. Is the Red Wings did not engage physically at all, like not throwing hits.
You see the hits numbers?
It's pretty skewed.
Yeah.
It was bad, and the Red Wings just refused to throw a body. It felt like all game long, kind of just
barely
always
hit double digits as a team in a full NHL hockey game for hits. Yeah,
they just were always dragging behind the play. The Kings were winning the race to every puck. It felt like in the offensive zone and the defensive zone. They were interrupting passes in the neutral zone, preventing transitions out of the zone and through the zone, denying zone entries, especially on the power play. The power play went 0 for 4 against one of the league's worst penalty kills. And then LA's league worst power play converted for what ultimately became the game-winning goal.
I mean, that's, I think, if you want to look at a deciding factor, right, you take out the empty netter, that doesn't happen if it's a tied game or whatnot. That is, well, I guess that's like butterfly effect. Like, oh, the Wings don't have, pull their goalie and have 6 skaters for their goal, whatever. But like the point remains, there is a goal that is taken off the board if you just don't give up a goal to the worst power play literally in the entire NHL. And I think that that's a huge deciding factor and kind of momentum shifter in this game too. But yeah, I think the lack of physicality that you bring up is a great point, because it was very noticeable how much more I guess just physical the Kings were than the Wings.
Yeah, and like you look at if you're one of those people who are like me, who like to look at the underlying numbers at the end of a game, it'll say, oh, the Wings were the better team, right? That had higher shots on net, had a better shot attempt share, better expected goal share. Like, this is going to be one of those games that boosts them up the rankings in terms of expected goals at 5-on-5. But you watch that game and you quickly realize, like, that was solely because of the last 5 minutes of the game where the Red Wings decided they wanted to play some hockey in this one. All of a sudden, with the goalie pulled, their forecheck came alive, and they were able to keep pucks alive in the offensive zone and get shots on net, and nearly tied it. I mean, Patrick Kane, beautiful feed from Sider, very nearly tied it backdoor moments before Corey Perry scored the empty netter to seal it for LA. But that was that last 5 minutes, especially if you look at they make line graphs, right, that show you kind of the game flow in terms of shot attempts. And the Red Wings don't have the edge in shot attempts until literally the final 5 minutes. It was LA Kings the entire game, especially in the second. Detroit, the shots were close all game, but LA had the puck, it felt like, all of the time. And when Detroit did have the puck, they did nothing with it. It was just a masterclass in shutdown. It was I think I said it to you before we hit record, that it was a Carolina Hurricanes-esque type performance from the LA Kings. It was the type of game I hate watching the most. We joked about the New York Islanders in years past, and the Hurricanes have always been in that caliber as well. LA Kings, that was the same type of game where it's just muck everything up. Stop the team from doing as much as possible and just try to grind out a win. Because like you said, Scotty, it was a good point. They don't have scoring power. So they got to try to win low-scoring games. And, man, did they succeed in this one. But, this is snapping a 5-game losing streak. Does it sting because, of course, the team's chasing you all won today? Of course they did. It's the Atlantic Division. You never catch a break. Toronto, I guess, technically lost because they lost to the Buffalo Sabres, who are chasing you. So you get them out of it. But Montreal won in overtime. Boston won in overtime. Not catching a break. But you had a 5-game point streak. You're not going to win every single game, and you were due for a stinker. Like, that's not going to be an excuse in the locker room. The players aren't going to let that fly, and nor should they. But sitting here as a fan, you understand that every once in a while your team's going to have a bad game. They had a bad game against LA Kings. It happens. You got a game on Thursday against an unbeatable Washington Capitals team. You shake it off. You go back to work. I'm not panicking, nor should anybody panic. You're going to lose hockey games in an 82-game season, and they haven't lost back-to-back games in regulation since November. So they've been doing pretty damn well up until this point. Scotty, the only real individual storyline from this game, besides just like the game flow itself, or lack thereof flow, Patrick Kane gets a secondary assist on the one goal the Red Wings scored with the goalie pulled. Alex DeBrincat's 28th of the year, I believe, as he's encroaching on 30 here before the Olympic break, which is sick. He gets a secondary assist. That ties him all-time with Mike Modano for U.S.-born player points. So one more point, and Patrick Kane will break that record, which is actually kind of funny when you think about it, because Mike Modano technically set that record with the Detroit Red Wings because that was the last team he played with. So the U.S.-born point record is going to be held by Detroit Red Wings twice. Pretty neat little anecdote there.
Yeah, it's been a really fun race to keep tabs on and watch. Obviously a cool moment in the game. The unfortunate thing was just the like situation and nuance surrounding it. Like, okay, he ties it. The Red Wings are still losing. The crowd, they put it on the board and the crowd kind of cheers a little bit, but like Patrick Kane does not show any sign of like being happy about it because they're losing the game. And then he gets an opportunity to break it, right? He gets that I guess I'll call it backdoor goal opportunity down low in front of the net and doesn't convert and is really pissed at himself for that. And like Corey Perry even tries to congratulate him on the bench, and he's kind of just like, yeah, cool, whatever. Like, he's pissed they lost the game. Like, that it just happened to be at the very end of a very frustrating game. And so I think there's a little bit maybe of, I don't want to say disappointment. Obviously, it's still an incredible accomplishment, so that's not what it is at all. But it just, you don't really get any like fun chance to acknowledge it in the moment. But hopefully that sets up maybe a little bit more of a opportunity for him to have a fun way of acknowledging breaking the the record, right? Like, maybe that sets up, okay, now he's only one back now, he's tied, so he's one away from breaking it. So now maybe there's an opportunity where, like, oh, he can just get a point in the first period and we can all have our moment and he can celebrate it, and then we can, move on and not have it be in crunch time in a losing effort. I think that kind of not soured it, but it probably would have been more recognized had it been in a different situation. That's all.
I hope he scores to break the record.
Same, yeah.
Because it's been
I
grind.
hope it's not an empty netter like his 500 plus.
It's been an absolute grind for Patrick Kane. He scored twice in Vancouver when he got the 500th goal on the empty netter, and he hasn't scored since. That was January 8th. So it's been 20 days as of this episode going live since he scored his last goal, picking up assists here and there. Production-wise, he's been having a hard time. Taking off the first power play unit doesn't help either. Yeah. So I hope that his first goal of his career, his record-breaking point, is his first goal in 20 days, his 501st of his career, because it's been a grind, and Red Wings do need a productive Patrick Kane to help them push for the playoffs here. But congratulations to him. Bigger round of applause will be necessary when he finally does break it, because he will break it this season. Like, I find it hard to believe he's going to go 3 months without a point.
I would hope
here.
so. Yeah, geez. But yeah, no, of course. I guess a testament to the moment is the fact that there still was like a big crowd reaction, everybody, congratulating him, and a moment on the broadcast, even despite the fact that it everything I laid out before. So still a really cool moment, and here's to the record breaker, hopefully soon.
Scotty, let's head to a break. When we return, we'll talk a little bit more about this hockey game. Stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. New year, new system. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way, and there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with your customers. You're going to love using Quo because it makes everything so much more simple. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 business-rated phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNHL. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNHL. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Whoa.
Just terrible. Terrible effort by you. You're phoning it in, man. You're like that guy who got that league minimum contract at 38 years old, just trying to get that one last paycheck. Actually, those guys are the hardest workers. It's not a good comparison. Scotty,
you made it.
Yeah, it's more like that guy who gets like the 8-year deal and then immediately takes his foot off the pedal. Scotty, the Red Wings loss. There wasn't a lot in terms of individual performers in this hockey game. I'll start with Moritz Seider, because there's been a lot to do about how the Red Wings were going to handle their defense with Simon Edvinsson out. And we kind of touched on it yesterday, and they even brought it up. Daniela Bruce asked Trent Yawney during the broadcast, like, how do you determine who goes out with Moritz Seider? Because there is not set pairs right now. It's literally Moritz Seider and then whomever is best suited for that situation. Seider played 26 and a half minutes in this hockey game, just about 26:41 to be exact. Again, only one other defenseman crossed 20 minutes in this hockey game. That was Ben Sherratt. Jacob Bernard-Docker had 19:20. Hamonic had 11:28. Albert Johansson had 17:06. And ASP had 16:38. Seider played well given the situation, and he had a sick assist to DeBrincat backdoor, and he almost had the very similar assist to Kane backdoor. Seider is playing very well despite the situation, as we kind of expected him to. But this, and I know it's just for 4 more games, but this is not working. They look so disjointed, and you have Jacob Bernard-Docker, a right-hander, playing on the left side. You have ASP playing on the left side sometimes. You have Ben Sherratt playing on the right side. Like, everyone's playing on their offhands given a certain situation, because there's literally no set pair right now with Edvinsson out that they trust in any given situation. It's a carousel. And
is there a set pair that you trust in any given situation?
No. And
right,
also,
yeah.
And not to rag on Hamonic either, because fans are already hard enough on him. I don't think I need to say more to that situation. But I do wonder, how much more we have to see before we try like Gustafsson. And I know Gustafsson is no savior, but just like, is this really the best we can do right now? Is that, like, barring a trade, is this really how thin it is?
Well, yes, to answer your question. That was easy. Good. We can move on.
Put that on a T for you.
I think, I think a little bit of that is probably like backup quarterback syndrome, right? Where it's just like, oh, always the guy that you're not seeing is, it could even be a boat. Like,
That's a good way of putting it. A backup quarterback situation.
Right. Like, we can always talk about how somebody else could be better, but like at the end of the day, there's a reason that Gustafsson's been down in Grand Rapids, and we saw what he did last year. I'm not really sure that there is even close to a guarantee that he is as productive or more productive. So I don't know. I like, that's not very inspiring. That basically just means there's no solution immediately. There's 4 games until the Olympic break.
Yeah, it's really just trying to fake it. I
think they just limped to the finish line, man. Right. I think that the good goal right now is just to, again, like, they were at one point down 1 goal in regulation. It's not like it was but this is not a very good offense that they went up against either. And like Gibson, I think was still like pretty solid. I don't know, man. I really, unless they have a trade like on deck right now that's, at the 11th hour, on the 1 yard line, as they say, and they're about to pull some off here. I really think the plan is just kind of limp to the Olympic break, and then you can reset, retool. Hopefully Edvinsson comes back after, and then you can make a trade on the in between then and the deadline. I'm not really sure they're pressing to do something just for these 4 games before a break.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the play, is just limp to the finish line and try to collect a couple wins in the process. But it's not the defense's fault that this game was lost. Obviously, 2 blown coverages led to goals against, but that was a whole team breakdown, right? You had like 4 players in one corner. You had both defensemen get aggressive on the forecheck, but defending the rush there, get beat. No forward came and covered Hellenius, and that's how the first goal happened. And then Kuzmenko ended up getting free in the slot. Sherratt ended up higher above Kuzmenko, and Albert Johansson tried to get over and cover, but just wasn't in time. It was more of the whole team effort is why they lost. It wasn't because the defense or Travis Hamonic in particular was just so bad in this hockey game that it cost them the game. The team as a whole just wasn't good enough. But it's just when you watch it and you're like, man, that's just Seider and then whoever's ready at that time. You're like, is there really nothing we can do? And the answer is no.
The answer to that might be yes, but there is. Yeah, I mean, you can point out the fact that this is completely unsustainable while also highlighting that, like, it's not the sole reason they lost. But right. Yeah, I would hope that everybody's kind of on board that it's completely unsustainable. I'm not sure anybody watched how the last two games have looked like, defensively and been like, wow, this is like awesome. I hope that this lasts the rest of the year. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear.
The first line was probably the line that, well, not even probably, it was the line that was the most productive at 5-on-5 at getting opportunities. Larkin had 5 shots in this hockey game. Kasper had 2, but Kasper had a couple of opportunities right in front of the net. He really crashed the net hard in this hockey game. Lucas Raymond had 3 shots as well. They come away from this hockey game with like the only line that generated any real opportunities. And that's really all I got to say about it. It was nice to see the top line, have a couple looks, but it wasn't consistent enough.
Yeah, no, I thought DeBrincat was, good in this game. I think.
See, but I disagree. He wasn't good until the third period. He didn't have a shot until the third. Then he had 5 shots.
Well,
so
okay,
he was very noticeable in the third.
Fair. I think that from a offensive aggressiveness perspective,
he was hustling.
Certainly he was extremely, aggressive with getting shots on net there late in the game. So I guess maybe it's just clouded by that. I think ultimately I do think Raymond looked great. He had a couple of really nice plays in this game. Just couldn't get the stick on the puck for that Corey Perry, empty netter. He was
just
so
one of those
close
games.
To that,
just one of those games.
Yeah, just out of reach. So
you're not
man, I don't
all.
know. It's certainly not the end of the world. It's not like the sky's falling. They didn't get completely just like rocked in this game. It was still close throughout for all intensive purposes, and they gave themselves a chance to win late there. But certainly a team that on paper you look at and you'd hope, 8 times out of 10 the Wings would win. They just didn't win this one.
And I know we got to go to a break, but another example to kind of illustrate how poor the Red Wings were about getting the puck to the net and getting opportunities, or I guess rather how good the LA Kings were at shutting everything down. The Wings dominated the faceoff circle in this hockey game. Andrew Kopp won 14 and only lost 7. Michael Rasmussen won 5 and only lost 1. J.G. Compher won 8, only lost 2. I think their total win percentage in this game was 68.5%.
Yeah,
when you win that many faceoffs, typically you're going to win hockey games. It's not always the case, but like that typically means you're going to win possession off the faceoff and you can generate opportunities in the offensive zone or get the puck out of the D zone. That just goes to show how good LA was at shutting everything down. Didn't matter if the Wings won the faceoff. They weren't going to do anything with the puck anyways.
Yeah, I mean, face-off percentage is a great stat for starters, and I
know you love it.
It was interesting. You pointed out before we hit record, and I know that Prashant talked about it as well, but just that Larkin didn't take a ton of face-offs in this game. They had Kasper taking face-offs early at one point. So I mean, something to maybe keep an eye out for. But yeah, they absolutely dominated. They were great in the offensive zone in the faceoff circle until, the very end of the game there where Corey Perry gets rewarded. So, I mean, certainly it put themselves in a position to be better than they were and just couldn't, really just couldn't like maintain possession, right? It was we've been seeing a lot of cycling and really good, like keeping the puck in the zone from this team for a while, and did not see that in this game.
Scotty, let's head to another break. When we return, just quickly mention John Gibson's performance in this hockey game before talking about the report from Darren Dreger on Insider Trading today. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of the action with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing your favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, just bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Scott, I don't have much to say about John Gibson in this hockey game other than he was good enough again in this game, a .905 save percentage, 19 saves on 19 saves on 21 shots, giving the Red Wings an opportunity to win this game. And that's just continues to be the theme with John Gibson as the season progresses. Actually, his save percentage on the season is at a point now that the .905 he earned today will actually bring it down. That's how dominant he's been, that a .905 in a game is no longer good enough to raise his save percentage. That's how incredible he's been.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. I mean, obviously you wish, you wish the Wings win this game. But, I mean, ultimately, I don't think many people are going to be blaming John Gibson.
Yeah.
The one goal was an empty netter. One was on the power play from literally the most high danger, literally right in front of the net. I think ultimately this is he is very, very low on the list of people at fault for this game. So I mean, cool. Obviously a great performance.
Stretch?
Nope. Ends a winning streak. I don't even know what I was going for.
The streak
Scratches?
ends? I think you try to combine streak end or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, streak. Yeah. We'll go with that and not me having a stroke. I think that is what, a streak ends. And obviously that kind of sucks for him, but he's been so good this year and was very far from the reason why the Wings lost. So.
Indeed. Darren Dreger on Insider Trading today. Did you want to say it? I think you thought about it.
Well, I started saying it and then you were talking. So.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't hear it. So when I talk, all I hear is myself. Scotty.
Naturally.
Darren Dreger on Insider Trading today reported that Steve Yzerman is looking for a second-line center and a top 4 defenseman. Two things that make a whole heck of a lot of sense based on what this team's biggest needs are, which is top 6 scoring and top 4 defensemen. So the big caveat to that is he's not looking for a rental. He's looking for somebody with term, which I think is also expected, because the big reason he wouldn't pony up for Quinn Hughes is because he didn't have a guarantee Quinn Hughes would come and stay for longer than a year. And then even more so to that point would be Rasmus Andersson. He didn't want to deal for Rasmus Andersson without an extension in place. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that, especially given some of the conversations we've already had regarding, Dougie Hamilton, Justin Falk, Robert Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we talked about Falk and Thomas yesterday. I think it is just what we have. It almost feels no duh. The defenseman part, certainly. I guess there's maybe a little bit of wiggle room with he's being a little bit more aggressive on the 2C area. But I feel like we've been hearing that for years, and I'm not really sure that's been fully and aggressively addressed. So, yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear, but it's also, you look at the lineup and you kind of think, well, yeah, those are areas that certainly the Wings can get a lot better at. And Andrew Cobb's had a great season. I think he's been very serviceable and has been, what this team kind of wants and needs in the lineup. But ultimately, if you can get a better point producer at 2C, you're going to gladly take that and not feel bad about Cobb being, a 3C that gets face-offs and defensive zone deployments. So I think that this is not super obvious reporting, but I'm sure it comes, it's he actually heard it, which is why it's good reporting. But it is kind of something you hear and you're like, well, yeah, we've been talking about that for a while. I'd hope so. Maybe that's what I'm going for. It's an I hope so moment.
And just given what Yzerman wants, top players and with term, that definitely means that I would infer, I shouldn't say definitely means, my speculation is that means the first round pick is in play and probably some young players, young prospects and, players who are on the team right now but are, on their ELCs. So that is pretty encouraging from the standpoint that this is the most aggressive Yzerman's ever been this time of year. Even in years prior, we've heard rumblings of the Red Wings looking, at potentially buying. We've always had that term soft buying.
Sure.
I don't think Yzerman's looking to soft buy this year. I think he's looking to actually add to this team. That being said, none of that matters unless you actually pull the trigger and acquire somebody. Or else we have the same conversation we did last year where it's going, I can't believe we got Peter Mrazek and Craig Smith from the Chicago Blackhawks, and that was the only move we made. Got to follow through and actually get one of these guys. You got to give to get. But it is encouraging to hear that it's not just trying to improve on the margins to give them a shot. It's no, we want to make the playoffs. So,
agreed.
Any final thoughts on the game or anything we've talked about today?
I don't think so, man. Yeah, move on, get to the next one, and try to, like I said earlier, limp into the Olympic break. But that doesn't mean lose games either. Try to keep your head above water here and get a couple of points here before they stop playing for a while. So we ball.
We do ball. Washington Capitals on Thursday. We'll preview that game tomorrow. Stay tuned. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.